This video is edited by AJ Analysis, a link to his channel will be in the description below. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down financially Mbappe's new monster PSG deal. I'm also going to be talking about why I don't think it will affect the transfer market in the same way that Neymar's PSG transfer did. But I am going to talk about how it will lead to certain innovations in player contracts and how Manchester United and other clubs can potentially benefit in regards to Mbappe and other players as well. But before I go any further, are you constantly looking around for your cards and cash and still use an old clunky wallet? Well, the sponsor of today's video, Ridge, is giving Atlantis football viewers a massive 15% off coupon for their wallets, which hold up to 12 cards plus cash and have over 40,000 5-star reviews. The design of the wallet is slick and compact, allowing you to forget about the days of having a bulky wallet taking up too much space in your pocket, as Ridge wallets slide perfectly into your pocket, not taking up any more space than they need to. Father's Day is coming up, so this would be the perfect gift, and the best thing about this wallet in my opinion is that you'll probably never have to buy another one again, because the wallet is made so well from durable materials that it comes with a lifetime warranty, and the Ridge team is so confident that you will like it that you can try it for 45 days, and if it's not for you, you can send it back and get a full refund. So there's literally no risk attached, and if you go to the description below, you can use the link and also use code Atlantis at checkout to get 15% off as well. So after weeks, months, years and decades of speculation about Mbappe's potential move to Real Madrid, PSG somehow managed to convince him to stay for another 3 years. And when I mean somehow, I mean by offering him possibly the most lucrative contract in football history. But everyone on social media has obviously already gone hysterical about how football is dead and how this contract in particular will ruin football, and to be honest, it's complete nonsense, and this is why. First of all, let's break down Mbappe's new contract, because a lot of people seem to not only be confusing this in terms of euros, pounds and dollars, but also before and after tax, which makes a huge difference to his overall earnings. It's hard to find concrete numbers, as every media outlet seems to underreport the actual earnings, not stating whether it's before or after tax, and things like that, but this is my best interpretation as far as I could gather. So in Mbappe's previous contract, he earned a yearly salary of 22 million euros, which is around 420,000 euros per week net, which means after tax. That was the third highest at PSG, behind Neymar, who earns 31 million euros net, or 600,000 euros per week, and Messi, who earns 35 million euros per year after tax, just over 670,000 euros per week. Mbappe's new deal will see him earn close to 1.7 million euros per week before tax, which works out at around 960,000 euros per week after tax, which will see him earn a net salary of 90 million euros gross, which is around 50 million euros net, meaning that Mbappe's new contract is more than double what he's currently earning and around 1.4 times Messi's current salary. But it doesn't stop there. Mbappe will also get a signing on fee of around 100 million euros, which will probably work out at around 50 million euros net, give or take a few million, and a 300 million euro loyalty bonus, which is around 150 million euros net, which I would assume would be paid if Mbappe fulfills the full 3 years of his contract. Now that means that in total, Mbappe would, after tax, receive 50 million euros per season as a salary, which would be around 150 million euros over the course of the 3 seasons, a signing on fee of 50 million euros, and a loyalty bonus of 150 million euros, which would take his total earnings after tax over the course of his whole contract to a massive 350 million euros, coming up at around 116 million euros per year, and that's just his income from PSG. He also has a 10-year deal with Nike worth around 140 million euros, which would be around 14 million euros extra a year on top of that PSG salary. Now from PSG's side, once you factor in the gross wages Mbappe is receiving, because obviously PSG don't just pay Mbappe, they're essentially paying the tax on that as well, so it's probably costing PSG close to 700 million euros over the course of the 3 years, around 235 million euros per season. Now these numbers may be slightly off, but I'm pretty confident after doing a bit of research that I'm close enough. Just for comparison, it's reported that Real Madrid had offered Mbappe 120 million euro as a signing on fee, which I assume is before tax, along with a net salary of around 25 million euros, which is half of what he's now going to be on at PSG. But it's not just the money in this deal that's making the headlines, it's also the power that's being granted to Mbappe. First of all, he's got a lot higher percentage and control over his image rights, which, like every football fan, I don't actually understand, and I can't really give a clear answer to how impactful this is as a part of the deal, but I imagine Mbappe got the bag either way. But also apparently he gets some say over PSG's sporting project, which involves him having a say on who the next manager is and transfers made. But there's already been one important change, and it's the sporting director at the club, as Leonardo has left the club, reportedly due to Mbappe's new contract, and is set to be replaced or has already been replaced by former Lille and Monaco sporting director Luis Campos, which if you don't know is the man who masterminded Lille's 2021 Ligue 1 title, as well as Monaco's 2017 title win and progression to the Champions League semi-finals, which coincidentally or not involved Mbappe, so I'm pretty sure Mbappe was a big reason as to why Leonardo was replaced by Campos. So now that we've broken down the terms of the contract, is this bad for football? Well, maybe, but I wouldn't say significantly, and the reason I say this is because I don't think there's going to be much wider impact apart from between parties directly involved. Well, maybe I can think of one way it will change football in the future, but I'll come on to that later on in the video, as it is a theory which I would say is a bit out there, but I don't see this deal specifically having the same impact on the market that Neymar's €220 million transfer from Barcelona to PSG had. See, that deal inflated the whole market. Ousmane Dembele ended up leaving Dortmund for at least €105 million in a deal that could potentially reach €135 million, when in reality he was probably worth around €70 million max. Coutinho's transfer fee was close to doubled because of Neymar's transfer fee, and players like Alvaro Morata, Lukaku, Thomas Lemar, Griezmann, Nicola Pepe, Frankie de Jong and Matthijs de Ligt all moved for pretty high fees around the 2017 to 2019 period, which now looks very inflated considering de Jong is being touted around for around €70 million, despite being signed in 2019 for around €75 million from the Eredivisie. So the Neymar transfer on its own had a significant impact on transfer fees being paid throughout Europe, and it's only really because of the pandemic that we've seen prices begin to deflate. However, Mbappe is clearly the most valuable asset in football at the moment, and PSG didn't pay a transfer fee, so there's not going to be the same knock-on effect of another club needing to sign a replacement and a third club hiking up the price because they know that club has just received a bigger payment than the one Amber Heard's going to have to pay to Johnny Depp. However, I do think Mbappe's contract will have a significant impact on the market, but instead of transfer fees, it will affect players' contracts. See, for the most part, when a club signs a big name player, they try to sign him to a 4 or 5 year deal. However, Mbappe's negotiating position allowed him to negotiate a 3-year deal, which PSG were forced to accept as otherwise he'd leave on a free this summer. So now players who don't want to be tied down to a long-term contract where they can be essentially held at the club against their will or priced out of a future move like Harry Kane was at Tottenham last summer can sign shorter term contracts. This is obviously a lot easier to do to lower the transfer fee paid to get the player by the club, as if the club spends say £50 million on a player, they aren't going to accept a 3-year contract, as within 2 years the player will have just 1 year left and the club probably won't be able to recoup the transfer fee they've paid. But for players who join clubs for reduced fees or on frees at the end of their current deals, this could be a good negotiating tactic. An example would be Serge Gnabry. His contract at Bayern Munich expires next season when he'll be 28 at the start of the 2023-2024 season, and let's say he has a season like he did in 2019-20 and establishes himself as a world-class player. Come next summer, he'll probably be eyeing up a move to one of Europe's super clubs. Let's say he's got his eye on Real Madrid or Barcelona, but for whatever reason they aren't able to make the transfer, most likely because they don't have a starting space available for him or they're pursuing someone else. Well, a club like Manchester United, who may not be as attractive to Gnabry as the two Spanish giants, could come in and offer him a 1 or 2 year deal. On the surface, this sounds like a terrible deal. However, once you consider that Manchester United would be getting a potential world-class talent for 2 seasons and would not have to pay a transfer fee and would likely be able to reduce the signing on fee that Gnabry would get, then you see where the attraction in such a deal would come from for the club. Although we could also see Manchester United players leave the club in this potential deal. Marcus Rashford's contract expires next summer, with the club having an option of extending it by a year. However, if Rashford had another poor season, or if he just couldn't get enough game time under Ten Hag, United may feel it's better to allow him to leave and get his £10.5 million salary off of the books. He would be 25-26 in October 2023 and free to sign a contract with a new club. However, the issue for Rashford at that point will be that he probably won't be attracting interest from Europe's biggest clubs, and then by moving to a club maybe a level below, under usual circumstances where he would sign a 5-year deal, would take him till he's 30 years old. Let's imagine that it's Aston Villa who are interested, a club who probably would be a good move for Rashford to restart his career, but not where he wants to be going into his late 20s, early 30s, a stepping stone club for the Englishman if you would call it that. Rather than signing a 5-year deal, he instead lowers his signing on fee demands and maybe his wages as well and negotiates a 2 or 3 year deal. That means if he's able to get back to his best at around 27 or 28, he isn't tied down as Harry Kane was at Tottenham last summer and is able to move to a bigger club either 1 or 2 years into his contract, which will still afford Villa a reasonable sized fee but not an extortionate one, or he would be able to see out his contract and leave Villa on a free. But this kind of contract could also benefit United in regards to Kylian Mbappe. Let's fast forward to 2025 when Kylian Mbappe's PSG contract comes to an end and he begins unapologetically flirting with every top club in Europe in front of PSG's face like he's Ryan Giggs at a family gathering. Real Madrid will be the obvious destination, but having been rejected last time, they might be a little hesitant or even bitter enough to completely refuse him. Barcelona would then be the obvious option if they could get their finances in order, but Mbappe might not want to go there out of fear of completely ruining his chances of moving to Madrid in the future. What Mbappe would need is a filler club. He'd still be 26 years old, so could still have another big move after his next move at that age from PSG. Let's say that he eyes a move to Real Madrid but cannot make the move happen in the summer of 2025. If he moves to another club and signs a 5-year contract, he'll be tied down and potentially priced out of a future move to Los Blancos. So ideally Mbappe would move to another European giant for 1 or 2 seasons and then make the move to Real Madrid. However, given his insanely high salary and signing on fee, there are really only a handful of clubs who would be viable options, and they are Manchester City, potentially Liverpool depending on whether they break their wage structure, with the same going for Bayern Munich, Chelsea, and potentially the Italian club which is financially the strongest at the time, and of course Manchester United. Now obviously if Manchester United are lurking around 5th or 6th, then Mbappe won't want to make the move, but let's say United are in the Champions League and in a position to challenge for the Premier League. Well, then the move from Mbappe's point of view becomes a lot more attractive. He could move to the Premier League age 26 on say a 2-year contract, receive a decent sized signing on fee and huge wages, and potentially win the Premier League and Champions League if Ten Hag is able to sort United out, which I guess is a big if at this point. From United's point of view, they'd be getting a Ballon d'Or contender for 1, 2 or maybe 3 seasons without having to pay a transfer fee to PSG, and even though Mbappe would leave on a free eventually, United without doubt would benefit hugely on the pitch, and that could be the difference in the title race and in the Champions League over those seasons. Mbappe then at the age of 27, 28 most probably, or even 29, could then make the move to Real Madrid on a free and receive a huge signing on fee. It would be a win-win for both club and player, and I do think this type of short-term NBA, NFL like contract could be the way forward for a lot of big players who are looking for a move but don't want to be tied down to a long-term contract. The clubs would benefit as they would get a player who maybe they otherwise wouldn't be able to if they insisted on a 4 or 5 year contract. So let me know what you think in the comment section below, check the description, give the video a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and check out my Instagram and Twitter for more content as well.